Hey everyone, welcome to the Star Wars Legends podcast, episode 18. Just Dylan and me today. We got a
Yeah,
little to talk about, and then we'll get into our topic at hand. Jaina won.
which
I'm just going to
well,
put it right there.
Jaina won. This is big. It's big because it's the second time in a row we've gotten a figure into the Black Series pool. But yes, thank you everyone who voted for Jaina. We made quite the comeback, and now people are complaining and allegedly we cheated at this and voted multiple times or something. There was they were claiming there was 40,000 quote unquote fake votes for Jaina. When if you look at the poll, Jaina only got 32% of the vote, and there was less than 117,000 votes, meaning that mathematically there's no way that she had 40,000 votes to begin with. So they're either complaining that every single vote cast for her was fake, or I don't know. They're just salty because their character lost, I guess.
Well, I was checking those polls the last several days, and I saw when it went up. And here's the deal. If Jaina would have gone up, and these are the casuals who are throwing a fit over this. It really is. It's the casuals. Then wouldn't have Rex gone down? Because if I'm not mistaken, Rex's percentage didn't change.
No, it was pretty much all coming from Mara. In fact, at the end there, when we were doing our big push for Jaina, it was like neck and neck with her and Starkiller, each gaining points. Rex hardly ever dropped. Dengar didn't drop that much. Talon dropped a little bit. And then I guess they're complaining because it happened late. But if you look at the poll, when it started out, it went live. We all did our vote Jaina, vote Jaina, vote Jaina thing. And Jaina skyrocketed. I think she peaked at 75% of the votes. And then everyone else started coming in. The Starkiller people started hitting, and he started gaining grounds. Then on the second or third day, the Talon people really came in hard and started. And she started. She had a 8 or 9% lead for 2 days. Then the Starkiller people came back and put Starkiller in the lead, and then we rallied and got everyone in the movement, all the pages to support Jaina, and we've pushed Jaina over the hump. But the way the poll was going, I mean, everyone got a whole bunch of votes. Everyone had big spikes here and there. It just so happened the way it worked that Jaina got the winning spike at the very end when it counted. Jaina came up in the clutch.
And for those of you people who are bummed that Dengar and Rex didn't get the vote, don't worry. They'll be made to figures sooner or later.
You have 2 of the 7. There were 7 finalists last year. Obviously, Revan and Sabine won. And 2 of the remaining 5 finalists have now been made. There's a old Ben Kenobi, and just recently they announced a Lando. They also announced a Royal Guard and a Hera figure, which in the preliminary polls were, along with Lando, were actually pretty high on all the lists too. In fact, they did better in the preliminary polls than both Rex and Dengar, and they let them off the list. Now I'm looking back, I think they let them off the final poll list because they were all going to make them anyway, and they didn't want to do what they did last year and just put them on the final poll anyway to see if they wouldn't have to make an extra figure. But
yeah, it happens. Shall we get into the topic at hand?
I just want to say one more thing, and I think that Hasbro is learning.
Are they?
Because I don't know if you saw, but like I said, they announced a whole bunch of figures right before the Jaina figure. We already mentioned the Royal Guard, Lando, Hera, as well as Qui-Gon and Tusken Raider. But when they announced the Royal Guard one, when they showed the pictures of what they were using for concept art, they showed the cover of Crimson Empire 1. And if you look underneath his robe, they actually show him underneath his robes. He has the same battle armor as Kirk Canos and Cantor Jax had in Crimson Empire 1. And they even said at the panel that they designed him after the Crimson Empire comics, what you see in the comics. That, and the fact that there were 4 of the 6 finalists were expanded universe, at least has me thinking that Hasbro understands what we want and is doing what little they can within Disney's oversight to give us what they want, what we want, which is good.
Shall we?
Yeah. Okay. Enough Jaina talk.
I've been wanting to do this topic for several episodes now. This is one I came up with.
Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Breaking news. Bill just finished Kenobi's Blade today.
Oh, shit. Really? Hey, he finished 2 pages.
Breaking news. It took him all of, 38 years. We're proud of you, Bill. You finally got through it. You finished those last like 5 paragraphs that have been eluding you since the Clinton administration. Congratulations.
All right.
Enough teasing.
This is the our top 10 best Star Wars video games, with the exception of new canon games, which there's only one, Battlefront. So, okay. Dylan, would you like to start off, or would you like me to start off?
I'll start off, I guess. My number 10. Now, before we let's go over the rules with here on this list. This is individual video games. We're not talking about series, so sequels are okay. In fact, on my list, I have several games within the same series. Now, I don't know if we mentioned this in the cast, but I'm counting expansion packs and otherwise DLC, but mainly expansion packs as part of the game, at least in mine. So I'm not going to say like an expansion pack takes one part. I'm just including the expansion pack in my list. I don't know if you did that as well, Jeremy.
With I think maybe 2 games, I did that.
All right.
So, shall we begin?
Yeah.
Number 10. You
for me? It doesn't matter, I guess.
I'll go. Number 10 for me is Star Wars Super Bombad Racing for the PS. This game, I remember renting this from the video store back in the day because it had a 4-player option for the PlayStation 2, which meant you had to have the PlayStation 2 multi-tap. Now I remember a bunch of my buddies and me all played this game, and we loved it because the control is so terrible. It's not a good game, but it's really funny. It's so wonderful, though, that when that movie store went out of business, that rental place, I bought Super Bombad Racing from them for like maybe $2, and I still have it to this day. But yeah, Lucas Learning. Do you remember that? I don't think I know of any other LucasArts game that's under the Lucas Learning branch.
Yeah.
Oh, for those of you who don't know, Super Bombad Racing, because no one ever talks about this game, it was an Episode 1 racing game where you played as like bobbleheads of characters. You had Obi-Wan, Anakin, Sebulba, Queen Amidala, Darth Maul, Jar Jar Binks, Boss Nass, and Yoda. And they were all big heads riding in like go-karts, but it was their ships. It was a hilarious game. It had racing mode and it had battle mode.
I actually
weird.
haven't played. I've heard of the game, but I've never played it.
Yeah, battle mode's terrible. It's not that fun at all. But
I actually hope this continues.
I think it's so low on here because single player, it has no value. you'll play through all the maps one time, and then you'll never play it again single player. It's playing it with 3 other friends. It makes it a really fun game. Your turn.
I'm going to go with not necessarily a classic, but a sequel to the classic that I loved, obviously for obvious reasons. That's going to be Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. Now,
that's up higher, but I won't say it.
Well, it's number 10 on my list because, I mean, you all know I've got the Legos. I actually got my tray of. I was just kind of like fixing up, but I've got like my tray of Ransom, Sith Lords, and Jedi here with me because I was doing some custom stuff with them earlier. But I love the Legos. I love the Star Wars. You know, it's just the perfect match, and I liked the game because it took the first 2 games and basically put them into one game where everything was. You could play essentially all 6 trilogies, and there was a whole bunch of extra stuff, extra missions, the bonus challenges, which I still haven't gotten all the bonus challenges yet because I'm terrible with the time limits, but really fun game. It took a fun classic game that I loved as a kid and improved it. Added we talked about this, I think, on another podcast, and about the melee attack that they added in the second one, that like they added in and they added in, it was something you never noticed, but like when you get in the second game, you're just like, where has this been? I've never known I needed this until now.
Well, it was because there weren't as many Jedi characters. Mm-hmm. I think that's why they put it in the second game, because you only have Luke and Vader and Palpatine are the only Force and Obi-Wan are the only Force sensitive characters in that game. The rest are all ranged characters, so
yeah,
it needed it. Yeah. But what did you play Complete Saga on?
I played it on the Xbox.
Let's see. I played it on the DS, and it was still a really good port. Because I had I had Lego Star Wars and Lego Star Wars 2 both for the PlayStation 2. And I traded them in because I wanted to get the Complete Saga for the Wii, and that I never did that. I actually ended up with it on the DS, and it was a really fun game on there too. So you've never 100%ed it?
I have not 100% the Complete Saga. The only one I'm missing are the challenge mini kits, like the blue ones that like you go into the level and there's like a time limit for them. I can't do it. I'm terrible under pressure with time limits. I've gotten a few of them, but it's just, I have all the gold bricks. I have everything else. I'm just missing the challenge mini kits.
I might have to pick that up for the PS3 and play that again.
In fact, the challenge mini kits are part of the reason it's so low on my list because, they're a pain. But anyway, moving on. Number 9. Do we want to alternate
Yeah, I'll go number 9.
Okay.
Here.
Jeremy is winging it. Ooh, okay.
I lost my list. So, Super Bombad Racing wasn't even on here, period. I forgot about it until I was looking over at I keep my video games right there under my CDs. And I'm like, oh yeah, I have Super Bombad Racing. And
why don't you just put your video games in a stack that was in the list? So you could go like, okay, number 9 was, okay, yeah.
Too late. I don't own all the games that are on my list.
This podcast actually almost didn't happen.
Yeah, I had shit I had to do, and then I fell asleep for 4 hours. Just woke up, and I'm like, well, I can't do any of the things I wanted to do, so we're good. Number 9 is Force Unleashed Ultimate Sith Edition. The Force Unleashed. A very overrated game in a lot of respects, but I remember first playing this on the PS2, which it barely ran on there. I played 3 different versions of this game. I just beat it on PS3 yesterday, But I have the PC version, which is the Ultimate Sith Edition, which has the DLC, the Dark Side DLC, which you kill Vader and you essentially become Vader yourself. You kill Obi-Wan, spoilers, you turn Luke to the dark side.
Right. Let's just get this out of the way. A lot of the games on my list, the only way I can properly explain them is to explain what happens in the campaign. So spoilers are going to be had.
Oh yeah, Force Unleashed. You play as Star Killer, Vader's secret apprentice that he trains in order to take down the Emperor, or does he? That's the question. It used the Force in a way that had never been used before. I remember the trailer where you're pulling down a Star Destroyer, which is the worst part of the game.
Yeah, because there's no health and the TIE fighters are impossible to grab.
There's health on them. And actually, I found that you can use Force Lightning on the TIE fighters.
Oh.
Yeah, I didn't know that till my third playthrough. You can throw the TIE fighters when they swoop low, but it's easier to jump and use the Force Lightning on them. And even then, it's difficult. But you go around killing Jedi for Vader, and then you create the Rebel Alliance, and you learn a little bit about your backstory, but that's rushed and thrown in there last minute. There's even a level that they put in the DLC, the Jedi Temple, where you go to Coruscant to learn some stuff about your past, about being a Jedi, which is the world's crappiest DLC. But Force Unleashed gets put so low on here because, yes, it is fun, but the storyline is stupid. It absolutely, by the books, dumb. Actually, Force Unleashed 2 has a dumber story. And it has just fan service thrown throughout. I mean, Yoda shows up in Force Unleashed 2 for no reason. And there's just stupid things like that in there. But, yeah, Force Unleashed makes number 9 for nostalgia's sake. What's your number 9, Dylan?
My number 9 is, before I say it, because I'm going to do a dramatic pause. Star Wars Battlefront Elite Squadron for the PSP. Now, I don't know if you've played. A lot of you, the two Battlefront PSP games are critically underrated games for what they did to the Battlefront. The reason they're such good games, because really starting with Battlefront 2, and I'll get to this more later in the list, obviously, because I think that's going to be a higher on both of our lists. But what they did in Elite Squadron with the storyline, the way the gameplay worked, I know we talked about this before in the podcast, of the fact that in this game, the ground and space battles were one battle. So you would get into a battle, you would fight on the ground, but if you wanted to, you could get into a ship, fly up to the space battle, and help out in the space battle. It was map. It was glorious. The number of players on each side was perfectly balanced. The customization was really nice. Which, let me just get into this. I was that guy who would, on the customization, I would max out my health and my special bar. I would have the shotgun and the invisibility, and I would just go around the map stealthily, get really close to people and just killing people, and take capture points because I was a coward. My KD was so inflated, but it was fun. I had a blast doing it.
And it had a weird campaign, though.
It had a weird campaign with the two, spoiler alert, Force-sensitive clones. From who, like, one turn, again, spoiler alert, but this is, I honestly saw this coming from, like, the first mission, with one turning evil and one turn being good. And it kind of does a little bit of retcons of the Battle of Yavin, but again, it's S-canon, so.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into this. So number 8. God, I had it. Oh, Jedi Academy.
Mm.
Jedi Academy only just made this list because I just started playing it. And I was going to put Jedi Outcast on here, but Jedi Academy, to me, they're two very similar games. But Jedi Academy is easier to approach. Jedi Outcast's problem is it's way, 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 way too hard. It's unforgivingly hard, and it has the weakest story of all the Dark Forces games. Because let's face it, Jedi Outcast didn't need to happen because Jedi Knight Dark Forces, which is a game I've not personally played. I've watched the cutscenes, though, because you can't get Jedi Knight Dark Forces to run on Steam if you have a Windows 7 or higher computer. So, Jedi Knight Dark Forces 2 was fine. And you didn't need to continue at this. Sure, they had Mysteries of the Sith. But Dark Forces was done. So they came out with Jedi Knight Jedi Outcast, which just feels really tacked on in a way. And then you have Jedi Academy, which to me refreshes the Dark Forces series by not playing as Kyle Katarn. You're playing as Jaden Korr, who is Kyle Katarn's apprentice in the game. And it has the feel of the original Dark Forces, and yet it still it has really, I think, fluid lightsaber combat. I think it has the best lightsaber combat of all 4 games. Well, Dark Forces didn't have lightsaber combat, so it's obviously better than that. It's fun. The graphics still look really nice. And I'm playing this on the PC, by the way. I have played it on the original Xbox. But yeah, it's a really good game. It's your number 8.
My number 8 is Star Wars Starfighter. For the PC and the PS2. I originally played on the PS2, but it wasn't until I played it on the PC that I actually got really into it. Now, I am really big into flight sim type games. I think one of the first video games I ever got into was an old gem called Isle Sturmovik. World War II flight simulator, aerial dogfights, combat. Love that stuff. Now, I was a little late to the party for the classic X-Wing TIE Fighter and all those games, unfortunately. I guess I can get them now, but I have them
on Steam. They're decent. They're a little dated, but it's fine.
That's my thing. I think they would be a little too dated for me to fully appreciate.
In all honesty, I don't like Starfighter, and I really don't like Jedi Starfighter. I find them to be very clunky games and not that fun.
Well, it's kind of why it's so low on my list. But I enjoyed it for what it was, a Star Wars version of another game that I really liked. Like you said, it was a little kind of clunky. Especially the ones when you're just in space are fine. They work marvelously. But the ones that you're like in atmosphere are a little... I get what you're saying with that. But it was but I enjoyed it. And I actually apologize. I'm probably the worst person for this list because I could barely get a list together of video games that I played because I don't play a lot of video games. But the games I do play, I play a lot.
All right. So number 7 for me is all the classic Lego Star Wars games. Lego Star Wars 1, Lego Star Wars 2, and Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga. I put them all in here because they have all their strengths and weaknesses. To me, Lego Star Wars was a really fresh idea for a Star Wars game. I played the crap out of it. Lego Star Wars 2 threw some new stuff in there. And Lego Star Wars The Complete Saga took the best elements of both games and put them together. And I played most of these on PS2, like I said earlier, and I played The Complete Saga on DS, and it was still really good. I also played the original Lego Star Wars on Game Boy Advance, and that's a terrible port. Oh yeah, there's Game Boy Advance games. I need to put
Back
one.
when Lego games were actually unique, and because he said that it was so unique to a video game of
I mean,
uh,
they had Lego games. There was a Lego Harry Potter for the PC CD-ROM that was terrible. And Lego games, with the exception of Bionicle games, were often ignored and just not talked about until Lego Star Wars hit. Because back in the day, I was as into Legos as Dylan is now. And a Lego video game was awesome. And it was just a really fresh idea. It was hilarious. I mean, it was one of the first games I put. The second one was one of the first games I played that had an E10 rating. Do you remember the E10 rating?
vaguely.
Because the humor was a little too crude for an E, but they didn't want to give it a teen, so they made E10.
There was no dialogue. It was people going, "Rah."
Yeah, but it was just some of it's a little on the mean-spirited side, I will admit. Oh, geez.
I mean, I guess people like kind of get completely dismembered when they die. They're literally broken up into pieces.
Well, Chewbacca rips Stormtrooper's arms off, remember?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, can I just say makes me not like that mechanic because it takes so long and it basically you get stuck in it and like to take shots makes me like never want to ever play Chewbacca.
No, I didn't mind it. You know what I hated is when you interacted with Leia as Lando and he kisses her hand. Did you ever do that? There's a similar thing in Lego Indiana Jones where you can whip and you can get any of Indy's love interests and kiss them.
Mm-hmm.
The Temple of Doom thing. It's so unnecessary, but it's hilarious.
I think the biggest like controller smashing moment in any Lego Star Wars game is when you're using the Force on something and you've got it to where it's almost perfect, and then some enemy you forgot it is shoots you, and it like all goes.
Yeah, that's bad. Lego Lord of the Rings, though, while playing as any of the wizards, the magic is so broken in that game; it just does not flow properly.
Yeah, that was another thing that the second game added was the ability to actually build something if you weren't just a Jedi, because it was only Jedi could build things, but then like the second one had everyone you could build stuff.
Can we admit that one of the greatest things you can unlock with the red bricks was speed build?
Oh my god, yes. Yes.
I always bought speed build, even before I got invincibility. In the first game, I always saved up for invincibility in General Grievous. Because General Grievous he played like Jar Jar, but he could annihilate everything.
I would not buy any of the characters. I would just save up for the multiplier, the stud multipliers.
Well, you didn't have that in the first game.
Did you? No.
In the second game, you have that, and it is so wonderful.
Oh my god, Matt.
Yeah, Matt is messaging us immediately right now. Of course. He couldn't wait till after because we're probably going to call you afterwards and talk with you about things. He's got to tell me that Dylan's probably going to have his own Lego Armada set.
That would be a good idea.
It would be.
Oh my god. Okay, I got to go. I need to I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the Lego Star Wars game's well worth your time. They still hold up today.
So that was your 6?
No, that was my 8. Hold on. Have we lost?
No, I'm on I've already, Starfighter's my 7th.
This was my 6th.
Okay.
Are you sure that was your 7th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Complete Saga, Elite Squadron, Starfighter.
And I have some honorable mentions, too.
I don't have any. Well, I guess I'll have 2 honorable mentions.
All right.
So my number 6. We're going back to the Battlefront, but this time it's the other PSP game, Renegade Squadron. Now, The reason Renegade Squadron is higher on my list than Elite Squadron, because Elite Squadron had a lot better mechanics. It had a better customization. It had a better. It had better. What's it called? It had the better space battles. But Renegade Squadron had a superior story, had a superior campaign by far.
It had no business having a really good campaign, and it did.
It did. Not only that, but it has a campaign that really fits a lot more nicely into the continuity than a lot of other games do.
Mm-hmm. So that's your number 6.
Well, and then the other reason was because online stuff for some reason, and I was on PSP on both of these in the onlines, but for some reason the servers for Renegade Squadron lasted a lot longer than the servers for Elite Squadron. I can't get either of them now.
Elite Squadron came out too late on the PSP, in my opinion.
Well, even after the Elite Squadron servers went down before the Renegade Squadron servers. I know because I was still playing both. And then Elite Squadron also, kind of the Battlefront games and space battles kind of had what I call like an evolution in. Whereas in the base game on Battlefront 2, you had those space battles, which were great. And then Renegade Squadron did something which I thought like I've never thought of this before, but it's absolutely necessary in that they added asteroids that you could fly into the asteroids, and there was a capture point. You could capture the asteroid, and you got access to unique fighters, the B-Wing for the Rebels and the TIE Defender for the Empire, which gave you a huge advantage. And as well as another objective to break up the monotony that was space battles in Battlefront 2, which I'll get later when I get to. We keep teasing things later in our lists, but yeah, that's why Star Wars Renegade Squadron, the PSP games. If you are a fan of the Battlefront games, Battlefront 1 and 2, you have not played either the PSP games. You are doing yourself the disservice.
Yeah, they're on my honorable mentions list because my PSP broke, so I never got to play them as much as I would have wanted. So number 5 for me is, I'm going to go back to the Super Nintendo here. Super Star Wars.
Ooh.
I picked the first one out of all. I played all 3. But Super Star Wars is the one I'm slightly good at. There's no such thing as being good at those games because they're so ungodly hard. But Super Star Wars is the one I can get the farthest in. It's side-scrolling, crap all over the screen, destroy everything, get from point A to point B. But it's so, the music's great, the gameplay is fun, it still holds up today.
Oh, I messed up. We were really on 7.
Are you shitty?
We skipped 1. I was counting wrong. My bad. Oh well.
Well, I can adjust. This is 6 then.
6 then? Okay.
Yeah. You fuck.
So add 1 to my latest. So Starfighter 7, Renegade Squadron 6, and then
this, yeah. No.
All right, so this is your 6 then.
This is my 6th. Fucking asshole. But anyway, Super Star Wars, well worth your time. Your turn, Dylan.
Now on to my real number 6. The game that Django hates, and even though he never finished it, and is still my nostalgic love, my nostalgia goggles are on strong right now for Star Wars Clone Wars.
And this is not on my list at all.
What?
This is not on my list at all.
Which, by the way, may I say, was before either of the television series that marked the same name. So it was the original Clone Wars. Original.
Yes, it was.
Now, I've mentioned this before, and I'll say it again. I love the campaign. I loved the vehicle combat part of it. Mm-hmm. What keeps it so low on my list and what my nostalgia can't forgive is the god-awful controls that were whenever you were on foot. But the story was engaging. I loved
not often.
What?
That's not often. I think that's only 3 times that happens. Maybe 4.
Yeah, 3 times. Geonosis. There's a Genos is twice, and then there's a time on Thule.
Yeah.
But
that Quildromo.
oh my god, that was the greatest. That was even before I knew who he was. I'm just like, oh, cool, that's a really cool character. I wonder how he has a backstory. And actually, now that I think about it, that was one of the first things that got me into the Star Wars Expanded Universe, because I got through it for the wiki. But I'm like, Ulic Qel-Droma, he sounds like a really cool Jedi. I wonder what kind of backstory he has. Then I read his backstory in basically all of Tales of the Jedi, and I'm just like, oh my god, this guy's amazing and tragic and
a dick.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. He does some ass things, but he redeems himself, and it's beautiful. Yeah, the Clone Wars does not make my list because the gameplay. There's only 2 ships I like. The other ships don't control well, in my opinion. Obi-Wan Kenobi's god-awful lisp. That voice actor sounded like he had a tongue piercing. I remember that, and I'm like, what is wrong with his voice? Because usually they botch Anakin's voice for whatever reason. Even Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, I'm not a fan of that voice actor. But Obi-Wan usually sounds good, but in this case the roles were reversed. Or I don't remember what Anakin sounds like because Obi-Wan's was so bad.
All right, so what's your
Number 5 is KOTOR. And that's the Old Republic. Which people are going to be so upset that I put this so low.
Oh, people are going to be more upset that I don't even count that. I don't even have this on my list because I'm not good with.
Really? I expected you to have this on here.
No, I'm going to get this out of the way right now. Hate me, but I cannot stand video game RPGs. I don't know what it is. I'm more of a tabletop RPG guy myself. I tried to get into KOTOR. I'm still playing it, but I've been stuck on the first world Taurus for close to a year now.
I got past that. I remember when you were doing that because we were both at the same point, and then I got past that. I'm 2 worlds past that now, and I'm stuck.
I've tried I've tried playing it 15 times, and every time I was like, yeah, okay. And I'll get a little bit. I'll do a side quest, and I'm just like, this is I just not okay. But anyway, not to rain the parade. Go for it, KOTOR.
KOTOR was a Star Wars RPG. It was really revolutionary for the time. It gets so low on this. It's only on this list because of its story is so good. The gameplay is so dated now. Because it's just, I don't know, Mass Effect did it better. Mass Effect is what KOTOR became, and it's very prevalent. But if KOTOR hadn't been turn-based, it would have held up better. If it had been more like Kingdom Hearts as opposed to Final Fantasy, I think it wouldn't be nearly as dated as it is now. Because graphically, it still looks fine. I mean, KOTOR 2's gotten a whole lot of love recently where they redid the PC version. They remastered it, and they did a bunch of fixes. And KOTOR 2 will not be on this list because I've never really played it that much. I've never passed the prologue. Well, I passed the prologue, and I just can't get into KOTOR 2. It's so drawn out.
Mine will try to find a comfortable position on my couch.
But another problem with KOTOR is what a lot of RPGs have, which is you level up your character wrong and you're screwed. You can't do anything.
Like how you're stuck on Mon Calamari because you don't have any ability to talk to people.
Yeah, I don't have any ability to talk to anyone.
You can get lucky with you just need
Doesn't happen at all. I need to find a character build, restart the game, find a character build that is balanced enough to get my way out of most problems talking. So I don't have to fight everyone, because the fighting controls freeze up on my computer, and it's really irritating. But yeah, KOTOR. That was number 5. What's your number 5?
So you group these games all together. I split them up. Only 2 of them are on my list. Lego Star Wars, the original. Not the original trilogy, the first one that was just the prequels. The reason this is higher than the complete saga is a little bit of nostalgia, but also because it's a classic, in my opinion. Lego Star Wars original, the complete saga is good, but there's something about the Daxter's Diner hub worlds. There's something about actually being able to walk the grounds and seeing all the built mini kits, not having to go to like a terminal and you can scroll through them. Having them actually all be there, having the classic gameplay, the classic things of the amount of Jedi you really had access to, which was a lot of my problem with the second one. Was like I would basically have like, okay, I've got a Luke and I've got a Vader, and those were like the 2 Jedi, and I would just be like a different type of Luke and Vader, different skins, and yeah, there was Obi-Wan.
Jade.
Oh yeah, you can make Mara Jade, I guess.
I made Mara Jade.
And also the bonus mission that you got from I think it was getting True Jedi on every mission. We got the bonus mission, which was the first mission from the game, which that and the first mission of Revenge of the Sith are the 2 best in that game to farm in order to get money for the all the upgrades. Which, by the way, can we just say, has anyone ever gotten True Jedi on the Kashyyyk one without using invincibility? Is that possible? Because I tried. I tried so many times.
No, not what you can do it in free play. You can do it in free play, but not in story.
I just got hit way too many times. And that one on the beach when like enemies just spawn all the time and they would always be like, I'd always get hit no matter what I do. But anyway, great game. That's my number 5.
Number 4 for me, I have to put Rogue Squadron, the first one, as an honorable mention. Because this game, to me, was the quintessential N64 game for Star Wars. And I'm not talking Shadows of the Empire because I never played it. Episode 1 Racer. That, to me, is the definitive pod racing experience. Still. It to me, it never got better than that. It's the best racing game, by far. I mean, I love Super Bombad Racing, but Episode 1 Racer is by far the greatest. You can make your own pod racer. You can unlock pod racers. It came at the right time. It was one of those cash grabs from Episode 1 that really wasn't a cash grab. It was fun and well worth your time. And it was smooth. Which Episode Racer Revenge for the PS2, not. It was all right, So that's my number 4.
My God. I'm not going to say that, Matt. Anyway, my number 4, and this is where we get to the nitty-gritty of where it was. My top 4 was hard to do. My number 1 was locked, but these next 3 were very hard to get in order, but I did get in order. And my number 1 is going to be Star Wars Battlefront, the first one.
So low.
Here's what holds it back, because we all know how great this game is.
Mm-hmm.
It had good maps. I love the Bespin and Renvar maps, and I didn't have it on Battlefront 2 on Xbox, so I couldn't get those maps. What holds it back for me was that Galactic Conquest, while it was a very good concept, in the first Battlefront, it was way too snowbally. You basically got one win, and you could steamroll the whole thing. And you could literally finish the Galactic Conquest campaign in Battlefront 1 in like under an hour and a half. Because you could just you'd win 3 or 4 battles, you would do like the special to get rid of one planet, and then there would just be one planet left you have to take, which was the homeworld. That was weird. I also didn't like that there wasn't set classes, and what
they were
kind of,
but they weren't
like
there yet.
They weren't there yet. They weren't universal. You had like a regular trooper, a sniper, and a rocket trooper, and a pilot. But that was kind of it, and there was a little bit of...
You didn't have the specialty classes like in Battlefront 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well...
But yeah, great game, and it was really tough. Really tough.
So number 3? Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith for the PS2. Do you remember this game?
That's an honorable mention for me.
Well, shit. Actually, though, this will be an honorable mention because I forgot this game. Star Wars Republic Commando for the PC.
Okay.
Revenge of the Sith is a really good game, but the replayability is not high. It was going to get in there for its dark side ending.
God damn it, Matt. I'm not saying that.
And, well, actually, I'll tie these two because they're good for similar reasons. I'll go Republic Commando and Dark Forces. And you might be wondering, Jeremy, the only thing these two games share is that they're both first-person shooters. And this is where I disagree. They were both revolutionary for their time. Republic Commando took an idea of, well, Dark Forces said, hey, we're going to use the Doom engine, but we're going to have a campaign. We're going to have voice acting in there. There's going to be a story. Because let's look at the first-person shooters of that era, which are some of my favorite ones. You have Wolfenstein 3D that has some text. Doom has some text. Quake has some text. Even Duke Nukem 3D just has some text, and Duke says one-liners. That's about it. Dark Forces, Kyle Katarn, and Jan... I can't remember her last name.
Jan Ors.
Ors. Thank you.
Unlike Jyn Erso. Completely different character.
Yeah. Cancer. Anyway. They talk to each other. You're stopping the Dark Trooper project that Vader has happening. I mean, you steal the Death Star plans. It's just so good. It's just one of the best. Then we get to Republic Commando, which, you play Dark Forces and you're like, man, I want another good first-person shooter Star Wars game. Go to Republic Commando. Republic Commando takes the first-person shooter genre and steps it up a notch with tactics and commanding. You command a squad of elite clone troopers called Delta Squad, and you go on various different missions. And to me, they're on par with each other as equals because they're just perfect. They are perfect first-person shooters because it's not the mindless Call of Duty, go from point A to point B, shoot things. You probably won't die, or if you do, you only die once on the hardest difficulty because our health regenerates. Health does not regenerate in these games. They're hard for a reason. But yeah, sorry, I had to cheat for number 3 there. And you can tell I'm popping right now. Your turn, Dylan.
My number 3. Just barely edging out the original 2. A lot of the reasons I like Battlefront 2 better is because the reasons that I kind of knocked Battlefront down a bit. The space battles were a lot better. Galactic Conquest was a lot better. It actually involved some strategy and a bit of actual not only strategy, but actually like managing your economy. Because, and I actually found that I would make decisions throughout the game. Like I used to, at the first, I would just buy all the troopers first, and then I'd like get all the upgrades. I'm going to Jeremy. He's been trying to hit me, but he's getting. But it got to the point where I would notice like certain classes are completely making my army worse because the bots will pick those classes and just get killed anyway. So I don't need them. I got more efficient at it. Not only that, the upgradable weapons, which was a thing that I did not know was needed until it happened. And all of them are fantastic, with the exception of the beam rifle, which if you followed...
We talked about a few podcasts ago how the beam rifle sucks.
Which, if you follow the Alliance to Preserve the Expanded Universe, the page, I made a post about that today, thinking of this podcast, of how much oh my gosh. Let's take a sniper rifle, give it less range, have it be less precise, and yeah, we'll go from there. It'll do more damage, though. But great games. And the reason it's 3 was, and I kind of mentioned this in my earlier 2, the Battlefront games. In Galactic Conquest especially, space battles kind of got a little bit monotonous. The upgrades, half of them didn't like how you'd want them to. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It were.
Ready?
Yeah.
For 2? My number 2 is Star Wars Bounty Hunter.
Ooh.
Have you ever played Bounty Hunter?
No, it's a very hard game. That's one I wasn't able to beat.
I've beaten it.
Which is why I left it off my list.
I've beaten it. You play as Jango Fett when you take a job from Count Dooku to take out Kamari Vosa, leader of the Bando Gora. You play on 6 different planets, and you learn how Jango Fett gets Slave 1, how he meets Zam Wessel, how even some things that are not necessarily canon the way they are, they're sort of secondary canon, but the gameplay is so fun. You have certain things you collect. You also have side bounties in each level, with the exception of the last chapter. In Chapter 6, you don't. When you're just taking out members of the Bando Gora cult, it's just way too hard, and they realize, you can't get bounties in here. You get a plethora of weapons, and oh man, those boss fights are the most rewarding thing when you beat them. And that game is unforgivably hard.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet.
What chapter did you get to?
I can't remember chapter. Oh wait, I mission the jetpack.
So you're on chapter 1?
Oh, chapter 1? Yeah, it's a hard game.
Oh my god, no, I don't find that one's not that difficult. Okay, let me tell you why this gets so high on my list. Back in the day, I would rent this all the time because it was one of my favorite games, but you can never find it at the store. And as a kid, I really wanted this for my PS2. And so we were re-roofing my parents' roof of my house at the time, and I said, I want this game. And I re-roofed a roof in the rain. I put new shingles on a roof in the rain for this game. And I remember when they finally came in from Amazon, I played the crap out of it. But I beat it, I want to say 4 years ago. But for a long time, I was stuck on the prison level. Which is that's when it takes the difficulty and it takes it up to an extreme. There are so many, all the enemies are tough. in the prison level. It's terrible. You end up running out of ammo in your guns. You're grabbing other guns and you're running out of ammo in them. You run out of poison darts. You run out of rockets for your jetpack. And so I remember one time I literally was in mid switching weapons and a guy came up to me and I had to punch him to death. It was so hard. But yeah, the Star Wars Bounty Hunter is number 2.
All right. Now this is where I get really in depth because I have to explain this one. I was 6 years old. I was going to one of my friends at my apartment complex, to hang out and like play with him or whatever. And when I got there, he was sitting on the computer playing a game he was finishing up, and I was watching it, and I was fascinated by it because he wasn't controlling a singular player. He was everyone, but like not necessarily everyone, and he was doing all this stuff, and there were battles going on, but he would click over the battles to do other things. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I need to do this and this and this. And then he showed me not only that game, but the game that came before it, and I got really intrigued. So I went ahead and got the demos for both of the games that were online for free. The game is Age of Empires 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
They are the first 2 video games I ever played. And I loved them. They got me into video games and got me into strategy games. I like 2 more than 1, but the whole thing of, having a diverse economy with 4 different resources, 2 of which have a great are like at a premium in the early game, but in the late game are kind of unlimited, and the other 2 that are you kind of use in the early game, but in the late game they come really important, but you're going to run out of them unless you do that. The way that the military works with just the number of units and the number of counter units, where instead of a triangle, it's like a weird like dodecahedron of this counters this, but this counters this, and then you're literally changing your army halfway through the battle. I loved it. I loved everything, how complex, how simplistic, how free it was, because unlike other strategy games that I've seen since then, where like you could literally build buildings and things. You could do pretty much almost anything you wanted. If you wanted to delete your town center and build it right next to your enemy's town center, you could do that. You could drop buildings and units anywhere you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So when I found out that there was a Star Wars clone of this game, I had to get it. So my number 2 is Star Wars Galactic Battlegrounds. And it does something. Now it's kind of an underrated game in their RTS communities, because it's a clone of Age of Empires 2, but it does something that a lot of clones don't do well, and is really what makes or breaks a clone game, where it has to stay as unique to the original game to get that audience into it, but at the same time add enough that's different in order to like get you to actually play the clone game instead of the normal game. And it did both of them. It had the same counter unit, the 4 resources, the way that you build it up, but it was a faster paced game. You can die in Age 1 if you weren't good enough. It was a game that took the normal units you're used to, like, the monk, the one that can pick up relics and convert units. Well, now he has a lightsaber and can use the Force. Heavy cavalry, which can move across and like are basically immune to arrow fire. Yeah, well, now they're walkers with giant turbo lasers and shields. Then there's air units. Great game. If I could get it to work on this laptop, I would still be playing it. I cannot, and this kind of is an asterisk because so much as how much I love Age, because it's a clone of that game. But fantastic. Loved the expansion to it as well. Great game. Just great game.
Okay, then I know what your number 1 is.
I don't think you do.
Anyway, well, my number 1 is, of course, Battlefront. EA, what a great company. They make just fantastic games. I love just having multiplayer where the match takes like 20 minutes to load, and how the heroes are just all broken. And in Fighter Squadron, you just can't get a kill. It's always an assist. I love that they had to finish. They didn't finish the game before releasing it, so they're releasing it with a $50 DLC pack. What a fantastic, beautiful. But no, let's talk reality here. It's Battlefronts 1 and 2, the original games. Not only I played them on console, but I also played them on PC. Battlefront 1 was fresh, a lot like Lego Star Wars. It was a new idea. You played as the standard unit. You took place in these epic battles. I mean, you're flying around Cloud City, shooting at each other while other people were running around on the ground. You're roping AT-ATs. Battlefront 2, you're in space. You're flying around. You're boarding the enemy ship and blowing it up from the inside. You're taking a Y-wing and you're just demolishing the sensors array on a Star Destroyer.
No, you fly like the transport ship in, so you can spawn there. You take out the auto turrets, and then you steal one of the enemy's bombers and blow everything up. That's what I always did.
I always boarded. Boarding was my thing. But then you had one of the greatest Star Wars campaign ever in Battlefront 2, Rise of the Empire.
Oh my god. The intro cinematics to them. Of
Mm-hmm.
Did they actually get the
I think it is Jango. I think it is Jango Fett doing them. The guy who
I don't know his the actor's name.
The voice of Boss in Republic Commando. He had a deal with Lucas Arts.
Because it's just clips of the gameplay with a little bit of music, but the voice acting is done so well.
Oh my god! I didn't know a game like that would hit me in the feels. Like for instance, one of my favorite levels is Nightfall, where you slaughter the Jedi, and it's about to go down, and the music and his intro into it, and you're just like, yes, it's time.
It's going to go down, but you can hear the conflict within him. Like, were there thoughts of like, that we're doing the wrong? Well, no one said anything, but you kind of got to feel like everyone was thinking that. All the clones were thinking that, like, we fought with these guys for 4 years.
And as Anakin marches in and leads the charge. The hero gameplay in 2 was really fun. But another one of my favorites is the last 3 missions in Rise of the Empire. The space battle over Yavin, the battle of Yavin on the moon of Yavin 4, and the Battle of Hoth. Because at this point, you're so invested in the 501st, and they are just killed, a whole bunch of them, when the Death Star explodes. So the space battle over Yavin is really... It's like, let's whip some rebel ass and teach them a lesson. And then they...
acting of... gets you into it.
Yeah, and like my favorite little voiceover at the beginning of when you go on the moon of Yavin 4 is we treated the rebels like a disobedient child, and I'm like, yes, kill that rebel scum, And then on Hoth, it's timed. The whole mission, you have like 18 minutes to complete it. And at the end, you blow up their last transport ship. But then it was like the little things in Battlefront 2. Like, you can blow up the shield generator on Yavin. On Endor in Battlefront 1. You can blow up the shield generator in both games in Battlefront 2 on Hoth. Hunt on Battlefront 2. Dylan, do you remember that game mode?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where you could play as different things. And then my favorite, Assault on Mos Eisley, where you played as heroes versus villains. And you discovered who would win in a fight, Darth Maul or Aayla Secura, and then you realized they're the two most broken heroes in the game.
No, Darth Vader's the most broken because the Force choke you couldn't stop.
Oh, that's true. But Darth Maul and Aayla Secura have that spin jump thing that just annihilates you. It just wrecks you.
Unless you miss. If you're good enough, you can micro around that and make a miss.
Yeah. I don't know. I like playing as Boba Fett and sniping.
Oh, when you would you ever get in the Jedi and jump to the top of the that crashed ship by the and like just like wait for someone and then just like pounce down on top of them?
Did you ever notice that's a Separatist frigate?
Yeah. I forgot what it was. I forgot if it was a Separatist frigate or if it changed when you're in Galactic Civil War to a Mon Calamari cruiser.
Oh, does it? I don't think it does.
I don't actually remember.
Do you remember Dagobah? How it's a downed gunship in Swamp, and then in we were playing as Galactic Civil War, it's Luke's X-wing.
Dagobah in the second command post, the one that's in like the quote unquote cave. Can I just say, is that like the most difficult command post to capture in the game? Because this is like, yeah, you're capturing it, and all of a sudden, like, oh, there's like 5 thermal detonators. Well, that was nice.
Oh yeah, if you're playing on the hard difficulty, they just throw thermal detonators in there and bomb you out.
It's just like, I'm almost there. Oh, there's like 8. Yeah, okay. Am I playing Call of Duty 5? What's going on here?
What's this, Call of Duty Online?
No, Call of Duty World at War, also known as Grenade of Grenade, World of Grenades, because that's all when you play on Veteran, that's all the AI does is throw grenades at you.
Or
an endless stream.
You know how on normal on that game they try to melee you, and then you do that weird thing where you pull their rifle down and stab them in the throat, and it's like the worst animation.
Anyway, back to Battlefront.
What did you play?
And the stupid. What?
What did you play World at War on?
360.
Oh, I played it on Wii.
Okay. That's probably why, because the Wii's graphics are terrible.
The Wii's terrible, usually.
Anyway, back to Battlefront.
Oh, what a fantastic game. They're perfect games, in my opinion.
They have their flaws.
They have their flaws, but I mean, the good's so much better. All right. Is yours Empire at War?
No, it's actually Disney Infinity because, microtransactions and those stupid amiibos.
Oh, amiibos are the best.
I know, right?
It's the greatest thing to come out of video games since Skylanders.
I mean, they're even better than Skylanders because they took what Skylanders did and they absolutely changed nothing about them except giving them, making them Disney characters.
Oh, yeah. What a great... Beautiful. Beautiful.
Anyway, Empire at War. Empire at War
is the game where Dylan blew up his own planet with the Death Star.
That was one time, and it was only best done, and that was in a mod because the mod at the time had a bug where you would click one of the upgrades. If you had the Death Star parked in a planet and you clicked one of the upgrades on the space station, it wouldn't register as a click for the upgrade. It would register as a click for the blow up planet button, and there was nothing in the code to stop you from doing it. So that was a glitch in the ACM 2.4 mod. But the reason I like it so much is it's a few things. And again, I love Age of Empires. I love real-time strategy games. But the problem with RTS games is that over the years, they've kind of died. They've died and gone way of MOBA games, which, I mean, they're there. They're kind of the same thing, but it's more of it's different. And even the RTS games you do have are kind of limiting to what you can do. Empire at War, to me, feels like the last classic RTS game that we have out there. Now, it doesn't have as diverse of an economy as Age of Empires does. There's pretty much only one. There's just credits. That's the only thing you can get in the game. The counter unit system is there though, although a little bit nerfed, but it's what it sacrifices in the economy. It makes up for in the overall strategy and how you execute your battle plan. There's a lot more of in that game of carefully microing your units, especially bombers and especially your starfighters, which die really easily, to make sure that you hit the right, you hit the hangar on the Star Destroyer so they don't spawn out more, or you hit the engines when they're about to retreat so they can't, so you get the kill, or you're attacking a space station, but you got to hit all the proton torpedo launchers because they just will rinse through your capital ships, that kind of thing. And even the point of in Galactic Conquest where going back to Battlefront 2, I mean, some planets had different credit values, but it was pretty much the same thing. Whereas in Empire at War, every planet had some sort of tactical advantage to either you or your opponent. So it's not monotonous of, I have to take this planet and this planet. It's like, I've got this planet, if I don't get this planet, he can keep making Star Destroyers. But I have to hit these 3 planets to get to it. But if I get this planet over here, I can make this really cool unit. But this planet over here is giving him a bunch of money, and I don't want that planet there. So it's the complex aspect of where do I attack, how do I build my units, where there's kind of a population limit in the game, but not only that, but how to defend your own planets. You got to worry about that, especially because in the base game, you can't build a level 5 space station in every planet. Some planets like Ilum, which I never take unless I'm in the late game, you only have a level 1 space station, and the AI always attacks it. So you have to have like a Moncal cruiser there all the time. Other planets you need to get because you can build a bunch of land bases, just make it a credit farm. Great game. The campaign is fantastic, especially the Forces of Corruption one where you get to control the Eclipse, which, oh my gosh, is there a more overpowered unit in a game ever?
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Fantastic game. My number one, and I still play it like with mods. Actually, I've been ditching the mods recently, just playing the base game, just to kind of get the fresh feel again. But
yeah, well, a few honorable mentions here. Empire at War is an honorable mention because I've not played enough of it for it to be on this list. Rogue Squadron for the N64. Star Wars Apprentice of the Force for the Game Boy Advance, which is a scroller where you play as Luke through the original trilogy. Really fun, but not a lot of replay value, so it gets thrown as honorable mention. Revenge of the Sith gets thrown in there as well for the console because it's a really fun game, but not a lot of replayability. Attack of the Clones on Game Boy Advance is also honorable mention. You're like, I didn't even know there was an Attack of the Clones game for Game Boy Advance.
I know there was one.
Not a lot of people do, though. It's the one of the prequel trilogy that's really missed because it was a Game Boy Advance exclusive and it's a side scroller.
Oh my God, Matt! I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
My honorable mentions are basically a lot of his choices in his list. Force Unleashed, the second Lego Star Wars game, obviously, which actually just barely made out the list because it's kind of in between. It has good gameplay features, but it doesn't have everything. It doesn't have the nostalgia that I had for the other ones. And that's about it because I haven't played a lot of video games. Like I said, it was very hard to get 10 video games for my top 10 list.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why there's a lot on there that a lot of people don't like.
Yeah. Well,
but this is my top 10, so
your
opinions are wrong. I'm just kidding.
All right, let's get into what we're reading. What are you reading?
I'm pulling a bill. I'm in the exact same spot of Fate of the Jedi Abyss that I was last time.
It's all right because I lost Darth Bane Path of Destruction, and I just found it today. So I haven't been reading that. I finished Aftermath Life Debt, though. And can we just talk spoilers right now of Aftermath Life Debt right now?
Sure.
They give Palpatine a first name. His name's Skeeve. What a terrible name.
Oh, yeah, that was already in there.
But, I mean, it's officially, like, named in a book. And, oh, God, what an awful book. Well, yet another disappointment from Chuck Wendig. And I don't know if you could... I didn't know you could disappoint me when my expectations are so low you could find them next to dinosaur bones, but you can. Chuck Wendig can. It's just so stupid. But I finished that. Read a couple issues of the original Marvel Star Wars comics, so I'm on issue 20 of that right now. I think that's what I'm going to spend this week doing a lot of. Yeah. All right.
So finally, questions from our last podcast.
Do we have any besides Dark Snovias?
Well, we have one. This is from Nexus Prime. He asks, do you think a translation of the Han Solo Hungarian novels, replacing elements that contradict the EU material, could fall into the transformative fair use?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's kind of a gray area. Legal things are not my specialty.
Neither are mine.
Oh, Relic commented. Oh, thank you. Lightsaber. Oh, yeah, he disagrees that he's not a Darth. Because he's going to keep... He couldn't even choose that tell. Yeah. Funny. Anyway, so Dark Snovia mercifully only has 2 questions. But what are your favorite authors from the original expanded universe?
Timothy Zahn, James Luceno, Kevin Ten, John Ostrander, Hayden Blackman. God, let's look. Ari Salvatore, which I'm going to get a lot of hate for. John Jackson Miller, Troy Denning, Drew Karpyshyn, as of recently. Michael Stackpole and Aaron Alston. Oh, and Karen Travis. I like Karen Travis too.
You got my number 1, Aaron Alston. I'm doing quick talk 10 list. Number 2, John Ostrander. 3, I would put Luceno. 4, Denning, and then 5, Stackpole. That would be mine.
Oh, and I can't forget Alan Dean Foster. Yeah.
That was quick. And then the second one, mine only finds Anakin Skywalker the most inconsistent characterization of any Star Wars character, especially when you take into account the TCW. Well, I mean, you're taking into account TCW, which is already inconsistent and flawed. Yeah.
He has a steady progression. Although, gotta love him killing that guy at Death Watch, and Obi-Wan's like, "Oh, Anakin, you rascal!"
God damn it, Matt! I'm not going to say that.
Is that it?
Matt wants to turn this podcast into 19 and 19 and a half. My Ox Nest.
Of course he does, Dylan. It's because he won't go speed dating.
I'm not going speed dating.
Dylan, you're going speed dating.
Well, no. You'll be disappointed. So I guess that's it. Kind of a short one. After the last 2 emergency podcasts that we had. Back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, and I'm glad we finally got this one. And don't worry, we have plenty of topics to go through.
Right, which we'll never get to.
Next time, we'll be in a different location for the Legends podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And, stay tuned.
Not sure how that's going to work, though.
I have an idea on how to do it, and we'll discuss that after the show.
Okay.
All right. Have a nice day, everyone.